Thanks for joining us today for Women's History Month, Story in STEM. Today's selection is Counting on Katherine, How Katherine Johnson Saved Apollo 13 by Helaine Becker, used with permission of Macmillan Publishers and Henry Holt Publishing. Katherine loved to count. She counted the steps to the road, the steps up to church, the number of dishes and spoons she washed in the bright white sink. The only thing she didn't count were the stars in the sky. Only a fool, she thought, would try that. Even so, the stars sparked her imagination. What was out there? Katherine yearned to know as much as she could about numbers, about the universe, about everything. Katherine's boundless curiosity turned her into a star student. She was so bright she skipped 3 whole grades in school. She catapulted right past her brother. He wasn't too happy about that. By the time she turned 10, Katherine was ready for high school. But back then, America was legally segregated by race. The town's high school didn't admit black students of any age. Katherine burned with fury. She wanted more than anything to keep learning. There was still so much to know. Count on me, Katherine's father told her. By working night and day, he earned enough money to move the family to a town with a black high school. Katherine loved high school. She was good at every subject, but math was still her favorite. She dreamed of becoming a research mathematician, making discoveries about the number patterns that are the foundations of our universe. In those days, though, there were no jobs as research mathematicians for women. Professions most available to them were teaching and nursing. So Katherine became an elementary school teacher. She liked her job and she loved her students, but she never, ever stopped dreaming about exploring numbers. In the 1950s, the U.S. government's National Advisory Committee on Aeronautics, NACA, hired thousands of new employees. It even started hiring black women as mathematicians. Katherine heard about the mathematician jobs. Her heart raced with excitement. Perhaps her dream could come true after all. But when she applied for one of the positions, she was told they were already filled. Katherine had to wait a whole year before new spots opened up. Her patience paid off. She got the job. A few years later, the Soviet Union sent a rocket ship into space, launching the space race with the United States. The NACA was rolled into a new space agency, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, NASA. Katherine now found herself at the heart of America's space program. She worked as a computer. Electronic computers were not widely used yet. Calculating long series of numbers is what she would do. All the computers were women. They were given the tasks that men thought were too boring or unimportant. That didn't bother Katherine. She knew that without her contributions, the spaceship couldn't reach its destination nor safely return to Earth. Here's why. Sending a rocket ship into space is like throwing a ball into the air. At first, the force of the throw sends the ball up, up, up. But as its energy runs out, the ball's path curves back towards the ground. Where it lands depends on what angle it was thrown and how high or how fast it flew. Because math is a kind of language, Katherine could ask those questions. How high would the rocket ship go, and how fast would it travel? Using numbers. And numbers would prove the all-important answer, where would it land? To find out, Katherine plotted the numbers she calculated on a graph. And she joined the points together. They formed a curved line. At the end of that line was Earth. At the time the rocket ship launched. At the other end is where Earth would be when the ship landed. Katherine's reputation for accuracy and strong leadership skills, she was known for asking plenty of questions, got her promoted to Project Mercury, a new program designed to send the first American astronauts into space. Mercury's missions were going to be dangerous, so dangerous that even the project's star astronaut John Glenn refused to fly unless Katherine okayed the numbers. "You can count on me," she said. Glenn's spacecraft, Friendship 7, orbited the Earth 3 times and returned safely home. Glenn became a national hero. Katherine was promoted again. Now she was asked to calculate the flight paths for Project Apollo, the first flights to the moon. "Count on me," she said. On July 20, 1969, the Apollo 11 astronauts walked on the moon. Their feat was celebrated around the world. More triumphs followed Apollo 12 as it rocketed to the moon in November 1969. Apollo 13 launched on April 11, 1970. But on the third day, the Apollo 13's flight, during the flight, the worst thing happened, an explosion in space. Could the crippled spaceship make it to the moon? And if it didn't, would it be able to get back home to Earth? The 3 astronauts on board were in grave peril. Commander Jim Lovell told Mission Control, "Houston, we have a problem." Back on Earth, Katherine Johnson got a phone call. Her flight path calculations would have to be done all over again, and perfectly. It would be the toughest challenge of her life. Katherine told Mission Control, "You can count on me." She rolled up her sleeves, took a deep breath, and began doing the math. She worked hard and fast. A few hours later, Katherine's calculations were finished. The flight path to return home would take the ship around the far side of the moon. From there, the moon's gravity would act like a slingshot to zing the ship back to Earth. To get home, the crew of Apollo 13 would have to follow Katherine's course exactly by burning off fuel at precise intervals. If the astronauts made a mistake, their ship would drift through space forever. Katherine waited anxiously to hear the astronauts report. Finally, it crackled over the loudspeakers. "We've got it!" Apollo 13 was back on track. Katherine Johnson had done it. She brought Apollo 13 home. She was no longer the kid who dreamed of what lay beyond the stars. She was now a star herself. And then the remainder of the book has more information about Katherine, about her career and her life itself, and more sources that you can look into, websites and other books about Katherine and her work with NASA. And if you stop by the library, you can pick up a packet that has something to do with what Katherine might have done for NASA. The first page is easy mathematical calculations, and if you turn this page in, you'll get a small prize. The rest have to do with some of the mental math that Katherine did. You'll just need to get a pencil and in some cases a ruler and try some of these challenges. See if you can be a human computer, just like Katherine. Thanks for joining us today.